Hey guys, John Robinson here, and this video is about how I beat a speeding ticket without even going to court. Now, the one thing I want you to understand is I realize some people are going to misuse this information who should pay for a fine for something they did, but unfortunately, until the police officers in certain places get away from their predatory speed traps and giving tickets to people they should, until the tickets are based on somebody's income so it doesn't automatically overburden a poor person, and most importantly, until they start having traffic court on the internet like they do with so many other criminal courts, or keep the courts open from 6 till midnight for minor offenses, I think people shouldn't have to choose between paying a fine that they may not even be guilty of or losing a day's work and a day's pay. So here's the way I did it. It's quite simple. I had spoken to a previous policeman, somebody who had knowledge of corruption in the county, and that had been confirmed by somebody else I knew. And quite honestly, by the way the officer handled the situation, I didn't like what was going on. So quite simply, I asked for a jury trial. Now, I was in a wreck and I had a broken vertebrae in my back, and I wanted to request a jury trial over the phone. They said, "Oh, you have to send us a letter." So I send a letter, which for some reason they never got, even though I mailed it in front of witnesses like you should always do, or send it certified. Now, here's the situation. I finally had to go down there, demand the jury trial, and they said, "Oh, we're backed up because of some other excuse, and it might be up to a year until you get the jury trial." In other words, they want to scare you out of it because you might want to be somewhere all across the country in a year. "Oh, no, ma'am, I'm going to show up for this one. I believe I'm right, and I believe I can prove it in court." And you want to go with that attitude. Now, the simple thing about it is, when it comes down to it, these police officers schedule all their court cases on a certain day. And then they schedule the days they have to work and the days they're going to take off for vacation. So if that police officer has planned a trip to Disney World with the family, and you ask for a continuance for a real legal reason that is justified, he's going to just drop that thing before he interrupts his vacation. Now, the point I'm making about this is I don't like the idea of people misusing it. So this is basically, if you live in an area where there's the type of corruption going on and you need to fight for the right thing, and I'm going to tell you why. Nobody ever jumped for joy by getting a notice saying they have to serve on jury duty. You sit in those hard chairs all day listening to shit that most of us can't understand and bullshit from either side. And the bottom line is the jury doesn't serve the purpose in this country because the judge will not tell you about jury nullification, which means no matter even if you're guilty, the jury can say, "Hey, it doesn't apply in this case. We find you innocent." So here's the one thing. By requesting a jury trial, they're tempted to let it go because it costs them money. It also might cost them the next election, because if they keep calling in local citizens to serve on the jury, they're not going to get elected the next year when the people, the judge, the cop keep losing. And the best part about this is, even if you are caught in a speed trap somewhere far away from home where it's going to cost you hundreds or $1,000 to travel there for the court case, a lot of times when they have these speed traps, you just call the courthouse and say, "Hey, I need to know of a good lawyer in the area that I want to contest this court case." And basically, they're going to have a list there because they all are corrupt and one hand washes the other. And you just call the lawyer and you ask him how much he charges. And you make an agreement as, "I'll pay you this much if you get it knocked down to this. If you get it totally dismissed, I'll pay you this much." The bottom line is, let's face it, I wouldn't be talking like this if it wasn't for all the corruption in this country. But here's the one thing. To avoid getting a ticket in the first place, and by the way, other creators have done videos on contesting the speed detection equipment when it was calibrated and all that, so I won't go into that. But when you are pulled over, honestly, I believe most police officers get into it because they want to do the right thing. And I had law enforcement in the family. And let's face it, a lot of officers hate writing speeding tickets, but the higher ups might have a quota and they got to keep their job. When you get pulled over, This will get you out of more tickets than anything else you can do. Be a human being. Immediately, the minute that police officer puts those lights on, you turn on your four-way flashers and pull into the first safe spot. I like to find a parking lot right away, and so that way the police officer doesn't have to be exposed on the road where somebody can hit him. Then you turn around and turn on all your inside lights, because he can look through the windows legally. He just can't search your vehicle unless you agree to it or he has a warrant. Now, the other thing is, I keep all my information. I have it ready. It's right on the visor. I take it down. It's in my hand, and both of my hands are on the top of that steering wheel so he can see I'm not holding anything, and I've already rolled down the window. And if you are just polite to the officer, and if I speed, I actually admit it, because if I get a legitimate ticket, I will pay it, and I have a bit of a heavy foot. But most of the time, I've had so many officers just let me go with a warning, or at the very least, they'll knock some miles per hour on it so the ticket isn't so expensive. So let's all treat Americans like Americans should treat Americans. But these corrupt courts and the corrupt higher-ups that are doing this type of shit, we all gotta fucking jump together with this thing until they stop their predatory ticketing practices just for money. They have the courts open from 6 to midnight for minor offenses, or do court over the internet like they do on other things. And most importantly, they charge the tickets based on your income so it's not prejudicial to the poor. My name's John Robinson, and you might know me from TikTok. The bottom line is, I realize some people are going to misuse this information, but they're not going to stop their bullshit until we stop them.